the body and nature. We've covered a ton of ground, looking at how wind, cold, heat, dampness, dryness, and fire breach our defenses. But it all really comes down to this one core idea. Extreme weather doesn't just happen around us, it happens within us. Our internal health is a direct reflection of our external environment. And honestly, this brilliantly illustrates the entire foundation of this Eastern medical view. You simply cannot separate human health from the natural world. When the environment is out of balance with extremes, our internal systems fall out of balance too. The weather outside literally becomes the weather inside.
I worked as a banker for 30 years, but now I work as an acupuncturist.
Have you ever noticed how your body just feels, well, completely different on a cold, damp morning compared to a crisp, dry afternoon? It's wild, right? In traditional Eastern medicine, there's actually this fascinating concept where doctors don't just look at the sickness inside your body, they literally look at the weather outside to explain it. Today, in this explainer, we're going to explore this incredible idea that human health is directly tied to the natural world. Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for today. We're going to start with what causes illness, then compare normal weather to invaders. After that, we'll break down the specific climates, wind and cold, heat and dampness, and dryness and fire, before bringing it all together with the body and nature. All right, section 1, what causes illness? So to really grasp how weather affects us, we first have to understand how this medical tradition views the very origins of sickness. In this system, disease causes are split into two main buckets. You've got internal causes, things that start from within and damage your organs. But today, we are focusing entirely on the other half of the equation, external causes. Think of your body as a fortress. An external cause is literally a foreign army breaching the gates. It's an illness that invades your body directly from the outside environment. And what exactly are these external forces? Well, they're simply the weather. The environment is divided into these 6 climates: wind, cold, summer heat, dampness, dryness, and fire, which really just means extreme heat. Now, you might be thinking, wait a second, these are just standard everyday weather conditions. And you are absolutely right. These are normal, harmless phenomena that exist perfectly naturally all around us. Which brings us to section 2, normal weather versus invaders. So, if these climates are just normal weather, when do they actually become dangerous? The crucial point is this. Weather itself isn't bad. Normal climates are completely harmless to the human body. We adapt to them every single day. But when these weather conditions become way too extreme, like too hot, too cold, too wet, or when they hit us completely without warning, they aren't just weather anymore. They transform into invading forces or evils that actually breach our defenses and cause sickness. To put this into super simple English that we can all relate to, just think about your environment. A perfectly normal winter day? Totally fine. But a brutally severe freezing winter. That extreme environment makes you highly prone to the cold invader. Or say you live in a location that's constantly wet, like near a swamp or a marsh. You are basically rolling out the red carpet for the dampness invader. The sickness you get directly matches the extreme environment you're in. Moving right along to section 3, wind and cold. Let's see exactly how these monsters attack the human body. We'll kick things off with the wind invader. Wind is most common in the spring. And just like a gust of wind unpredictably blows leaves around, this illness hits you super suddenly and rapidly changes your symptoms. It targets the upper body. This is exactly why spring allergies hit us with stuffy noses and sudden headaches out of absolutely nowhere. But here's the really fascinating part. Wind acts as a leader. It rarely attacks alone. Instead, it essentially blows open the gates of your body's defenses, allowing other sicknesses to just sneak right in behind it. Next up, we have the cold invader, which is naturally the monster of severe winter. While wind is fast and flighty, cold is a totally different beast. Cold physically weakens your body's warming functions. Think about a river freezing completely over in the dead of winter. That is exactly what the cold invader does to your energy and blood. It literally freezes the flow. And because everything stops moving smoothly, your whole body gets deeply chilled, and you experience physical pain. If this bitter cold actually manages to strike your internal organs directly, you're looking at severe symptoms like vomiting and diarrhea. Okay, let's leave the freezing winter behind and jump into the sweltering, soggy challenges of Section 4, heat and dampness. When we hit midsummer, we run straight into the summer heat invader. This happens when you're just baking in the intensely strong midsummer sun for way too long. Now, heat naturally rises, right? So this invader forces heat upward, straight to your head. This gives you a deeply red, flushed face. Your body tries to fight off the heat by sweating heavily, but that just quickly drains your fluids and leaves you feeling totally exhausted. Then, when the rainy season rolls around, we face a particularly stubborn enemy, the dampness invader. We all know that gross, heavy feeling on a super humid day, right? Well, that is the dampness invader at work. Water flows downward, so naturally it targets the lower body. The defining characteristic of dampness is its sticky nature. It gets inside you and just slows everything down, making the flow of your energy and fluids completely sluggish. And because it's so heavy and sticky, once it gets into your system, it is notoriously hard to get rid of. It makes recovery a really long, slow process. For our final two categories in Section 5, let's explore what happens when moisture is completely stripped away from the environment. Dryness and fire. Autumn brings the dryness invader. The dry autumn winds literally suck the moisture right out of the air, and, in turn, right out of you. This invader specifically targets your lungs and your skin. It dries up your internal fluids, leaving you feeling completely parched. And because it heavily damages the respiratory system, the classic signs of the dryness invader are a persistent dry cough that you just cannot shake, and sometimes even the onset of asthma-like symptoms. And finally, we reach the fire invader. Now, fire isn't tied to a specific season. Instead, it's the result of extreme heat. Much like a physical flame, the fire invader burns upward intensely. It is way more aggressive than standard summer heat. Fire just aggressively burns up your energy and evaporates your fluids. It basically makes your blood boil, which makes severe symptoms like bleeding much more likely. It is an incredibly intense, highly destructive force. All right, Section 6, the body and nature. We've covered a ton of ground, looking at how wind, cold, heat, dampness, dryness, and fire breach our defenses. But it all really comes down to this one core idea. Extreme weather doesn't just happen around us, it happens within us. Our internal health is a direct reflection of our external environment. And honestly, this brilliantly illustrates the entire foundation of this Eastern medical view. You simply cannot separate human health from the natural world. When the environment is out of balance with extremes, our internal systems fall out of balance too. The weather outside literally becomes the weather inside. And this brings us to a really powerful realization. We aren't just living in our environments, we are actively absorbing them. So I want to leave you with this question. If our bodies react so intensely to the weather outside, what can you do today to protect your own internal climate? Whether it's bundling up against the piercing wind, staying super hydrated in the summer sun, or avoiding damp, stagnant places. Understanding these natural invaders is the absolute first step to fortifying your fortress. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and stay mindful of the weather out there.
I worked as a banker for 30 years.